What's going on, everybody? My name is Tomas. You're probably wondering why the audio quality of this video is so crappy. Well, let's talk about a solution. The Sennheiser MKE 440 directional stereo microphone for video. Let's go ahead and hop into this video. Alright, so now the audio has changed, as you probably have become aware. This is where I ask you to go ahead and plug in some headphones if you want to evaluate this microphone in further detail. The MKE 440 is indeed plugged into my Sony a7R II, where I am recording the raw audio, and none of it's going to be processed in post-production. So you're just going to get a straight sample of how this sounds right off the camera. Before we get into this video, I want to talk about the design of the MKE 440. It has two shotgun microphones that are internally shock mounted, and they have been engineered in a way that the pickup pattern is super corduroyed, which is acting like a shotgun microphone. The design of the MKE 440 is really well thought out. As you see in this video, the 3.5 millimeter headphone cable is running out the front of the microphone, which is a welcomed addition because all of the video shotgun microphones that I've dealt with have the cable running out the back. I'm also inclined to bring up the point that most shotgun microphones that are mounted on top of DSLR cameras or DSLM cameras are externally shock mounted, and they bounce around and all types of stuff. The MKE 440 just doesn't do that. It's really strong. You can even pick up the camera by holding this microphone. I wouldn't recommend that, but just so you know, this thing is really solid, and it feels like it's an extension of the camera rather than the other way around where you have extensions running off your camera. The MKE 440, hands down, is probably the best designed microphone for video in this type of setting that I've ever had the experience of using. The frequency response capabilities of the MKE 440 range from 50 Hertz all the way up to 20,000 Hertz, so you're going to get a pretty good representation of what the average human ear is capable of hearing. One thing to be aware of is that the MKE 440 will not dip into the 20 Hertz range, so you're not going to get that super deep bass. If you have a really high quality headset on right now, you're probably able to pick up that the bass and the lows of the frequency response spectrum are not being done justice with this microphone. The MKE 440 runs off two AAA batteries that Sennheiser is claiming, regardless of brand of battery that you're using. It will get you around 100 hours of recording time using the MKE 440. Now, the MKE 440 will warn you visually by turning red on the power LED indicator. It will turn red at around 4 hours left of use of those two AAA batteries. The weight of the MKE 440 is around 180 grams, so in terms of weight adding to your rig, it's really negligible. You could literally throw this thing on the top of your camera, put your camera in a Ronin, and get off to running without even really worrying about having to rebalance and all that type of stuff. It's really well balanced and has a really nice center of gravity on your camera, regardless of the type of camera you shoot on. The MKE 440 is really well designed, and it is a solid microphone in my opinion. The MKE 440 features a low cut filter, so in the event that you are shooting in high wind environments, it does a really good job in the sense that this is a built-in feature, just like the MKE 600 shotgun microphone. Now, before I close this video out, I want to hop into some samples. All of this video has been recorded using the MKE 440, so if you want to take a listen at how this performs in a controlled environment like this office setting, just rewind this video and take a listen again. Let's go ahead and hop into some shooting outside. Now, this almost never happens when I'm testing equipment. Wouldn't you know that we actually have some wind and it's blowing at me, so from behind the camera, and I want to give you some samples on how the MKE 440 is rejecting that wind noise. Now, I want to give you some details on how this setup is actually set up. The Sony a7R II is set at a 6 decibel level, and I have the audio sensitivity on the MKE 440 set at 0. And I also don't have the low cut filter set on just yet because I want to give some actual examples. Now you can probably hear the highway behind me. Again, I want to give you some samples on how this thing will actually perform in the wild. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and switch the low cut filter on as we are speaking, and to see if that's doing any kind of justice in the sense of rejecting noise. So let's go ahead and switch that on now. Now that is set to on, and the wind is still coming at me, so from behind the camera, and you be the judge on how this is performing in real life. So I'm going to get off to the side, off axis, outside of the primary space and where you would want to be if you're recording audio with this microphone. I'm also going to step to the other side. I'm going to keep speaking while I move through the actual space and where audio is picked up. With this setup here, I have the low cut filter on, wind is blowing, and you can hear some external noise from the freeway that's over on this side of me. You can see how this microphone is rejecting that external noise and performing like it's performing really well in my opinion, but that's not what really matters. It matters what your opinion is. So I'm going to go ahead and step off camera while I keep talking to give you an example of how this microphone is rejecting sound from behind the camera. I'm really close to the camera now, and I'm coming back into frame. Again, you be the judge. Let me know in the comments section down below if you enjoyed this test, if it was helpful to you or anything like that. Feel free to give me a thumbs up. So what are my thoughts on the MKE 440? Well, I think it's a fantastic microphone. For one, it's designed really, really well. You no longer have this bouncing around microphone on the top of your camera, and nor do you have a cable running down the back of your camera where you're trying to look through your viewfinder and it's getting in the way all the time, to where you have to try to wrap it around and do all kinds of finagling. The MKE 440, it's just non-existent because of the design of this thing. This is one solid piece with a really well thought out cable going through the front of the microphone. One thing also, I think the MKE 440 is priced a little steep, considering that you can get the MKE 600 shotgun microphone for about $30 cheaper. Before I close, I must disclose Sennheiser was kind enough to send this microphone to me for review, so without them this content would not have been possible. If you're interested in pricing and availability of this microphone, it's right below that like button in the video description. Feel free to check that out. Well, that about does it for me in this one. If you like this video, please feel free to give me a thumbs up. If not, hit the other one. Thanks for taking the time to watch. I'm Tomas, and I'll catch you in the next one.